Yeah, we got Mr. Janik on Bravo Star on the show. He's at 9-3. We've got Andrew at 10-2. Like I said, one of the only 10-win players. And I definitely remember watching Andrew earlier today and being extremely impressed.
Yes,
with his play.
Andrew was the player that we got to see on stream. And spoiler alert, if you missed the game, it was really good. But early in the game, like turn 1, turn 2, double pitched over the course of 2 turns. 2 Oakenolds he drew into, played for the second cycle, and absolutely rocked face when it came to the second cycle of the deck with some really sick Oakenold play.
Now, talking about that and hearing that, and that's what he did earlier in a mirror match that we had, do you expect to see kind of the same thing maybe to go for?
Well, I think it was a smart heads-up play when you see them early. If you see 2 Oakenolds early and you can do stuff like that, or if you see Oakenold Crippling Crush, and he actively made the choice to pitch those cards away so that he could play for the second cycle of the deck and then slam those down when life totals are low, equipment blocks are gone. That was the play. The question is, are either of these players going to see those cards early, and what choices will they make in this moment? You see that this matchup is virtually identical as far as equipment is concerned, except, of course, Stalagmite being played on top there and Rampart on Andrew's side of things.
Yeah, we haven't seen the Stalagmite too much this weekend, so nice to see it make an appearance. I'm interested to see if either player figures out that their role should be the defensive role in this game, and I did already see a defensive reaction, see a turn timber in Andrew's hands. It does look like maybe he's thinking the same thing. Now we have a Starvo activation for Mr. Janik over here.
And this is going to make for a very large possible turn if he chooses to play that Pulse of Volthaven down and come in with a big ol' attack. But nope, just going to be content with Break Ground Red, which comes for 9. Dominate, go again, thanks to Starvo. Pushing a nice solid chunk of damage here. And
36 is a lot.
Yeah, 36 is way big. Like, probably too big. I mean, that's Kano levels of damage.
We still got some Kanos lurking in the around as well. It looks like
we just watched one. It was a crazy finish.
Yeah, it looks like this turn timber. It's also going to be fused with an Evergreen. Is going to be able to soak up almost all of that damage.
Covers nearly everything. I don't know. I think that was from the Arsenal, so there wasn't a Crown of Seeds activation to stop the last one, but he just took the damage. Looking didn't want to push the Winter's Wail, I believe, there. Instead, just chose to keep perhaps the Pulse in hand and Arsenal a card, or, as we talked about earlier, arsenaling the Pulse and then maybe moving it over with Crown of Seeds to dig.
Really, really good point. Now we're back over to Mr. Janik. How does he want to do with this?
I believe Andrew is choosing. I think he's just going to choose to Arsenal and pass on this turn. He has an Oakenold in his hand. Maybe that was in his Arsenal. Maybe that's the Arsenal card. Has an Oakenold and an Evergreen in hand, deciding whether or not he wants to just weirdly enough pass, I think, is perhaps the play. Looks like both of those were red. Of course, Oakenold being a red pitch, and then that Evergreen looks like it was also red.
It looks like in the turn, Mr. Janik's going to go ahead and activate that Crown of Seeds. Get that Arsenal at the bottom, get a new fresh card to the hand.
So Andrew Arsenal's passes, draws into a Pummel, as well as another card. But again, you're going to need the resources to actually just play out those large attacks. So it may just be another defensive turn here. Could also choose to pitch the Oakenold to activate Crown of Seeds, which again gets the Oakenold to the bottom of the deck.
And here we go. Here's that play that you were talking about a little while ago. He's going to actually play the Pulse here to pump up this hammer attack by 4. This is a big 8 power hammer. It looks like another defensive reaction. We're talking about that turn timber in that Arsenal is going to come out and soak up all of this damage.
And look, Andrew's doing it again. He's choosing to pitch the 2 cards that he had earlier that we talked about, the Evergreen and the Oakenold. He's going to stack them on the bottom of the deck as they're supposed to go, choosing what looked like Oakenold followed by Evergreen. So at this point, and if you wanted to kind of play along at home, here's what you do. You put a number like 2, for example, in your head. And every card that you move to the bottom of the deck, you add to that number. So you can count up. The other option is if you know the composition of your deck, there's 60 cards in the deck, you can count down from that. But essentially, you keep a running count of how many cards are in the deck at any given moment and how far down the deck those cards are so that you can know about when you can draw into those cards in the second cycle of the deck. It's a complicated thing. It's something that I feel like I've done more often on Kano in Blitz because the deck size is smaller. You can math. Basically just math. All you're doing is math. Look, this is it. You just have to add numbers. Isn't that easy? Isn't that simple? I don't know. It depends. It's very difficult in practice to actually execute. So kudos to anyone pulling it off in real time, especially at a place like the Pro Tour in round 13 on day 2.
Yeah, it looks like we've got one of those break grounds attacking over into Andrew right now. Like you said, I think he's found his way in these matchups, and it seems to be serving him very well this weekend. That he wants to be the defensive player. He wants to be the control player here, and he's going to start off by pitching one of those break grounds of his own and activating a Crown of Seeds. So that's going to, put one of those 1 damage prevention shields kind of floating around here. He does. Now, he did pitch a card and not use his Tunic here, so he's not going to go with one of the 5-card hands. Probably not as important when you're not doing as many attacks.
Yeah, and he's also just staring down a fairly easy attack to just take if he has to. And there goes another card to the bottom of the deck. So your count would be 4 if you were counting that direction. If you wanted to count to 4,
that's too high for me.
And 4 is a lot. There's the fuse, and it's going to be a fused evergreen most likely coming down after this. And again, we saw the prioritization of just pushing like a break ground and no hammer swing because you want that arsenal card. Evergreen comes across for 9, dominate, go again. And a kitchen sink, just throw it at there. What other keywords could we give this? A 9, dominate, go again. Blood Debt doesn't do anything. I don't know, we could probably give it some other keywords. There's probably some out there that would be fun to tack on as well.
Might as well throw on Intimidate as well.
Intimidate.
Oh, no,
actually, this would be a very intimidating thing to see. Just one very, magnanimous guy just absolutely throwing every element at you.
Giant elk at you.
Just chucks the elk.
I'm thinking about this, you're a lore guy. You talk about he's converting over into Bravo Star of the show. This big flamboyant guy that's showing off or whatever, and then he's like, "Hey, catch!" and just throws an elk at you.
Hey, check out this elk. Come, take a look. Now, there's actually, so you talk about lore. There's actually a name for that elk. I just don't know it.
Okay.
I wish I did.
I'm very disappointed in you
and
right
actually,
now.
not only that, there's a name for the little thing on the back of the elk. Do you see that little, there's like a little mouse thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's a meep, but if it is, there you go. That'd be the name.
Okay. Real quick, if they ever do any kind of, they make this a show, you better voice this character.
I think it's a Fianna. I think that's the name. There you go. You're welcome. You're welcome. I think that might be it. Someone check me in chat. Someone check me.
We just need to make a new channel for you, Lore with Armada. You just talk about the lore of the entire game.
Hey, I'd do that. If people would watch that, Oakenold's here.
Okay, well,
hey,
speaking
just
of...
easy fuse, too. Look at that. Fusing with the Pulse of Eisenloft. So this is not fused across... I don't think this is double fused, because I don't think he revealed at the beginning. This is fused with the Pulse of Eisenloft, so this does push 9 dominate.
All right, Andrew's going to go ahead and use that Tunic counter to activate Crown of Seeds. So it's going to have a 1 prevention floating.
Yep.
Now this does have Dominate, so only 1 card from hand can block here, but if there is a defensive reaction, that is something he could add as well, but we've already seen Andrew use a ton of those this game.
He's got a lot of 2 block cards in hand, which makes it a little awkward. Like, for example, Heaven's Claws, which he's feathering right there. A 3 block card. One of the only 3 block cards in his hand that can actually soak up some of this damage completely.
And you were right. It is only attacking for only 9.
Yeah, just
not
9.
11.
Not double dominated. Heaven's Claws will block to prevent some of it. And that does mean that the on-hit trigger will, resolve and force 2 cards to the bottom of the deck, thus increasing your count. Now, I didn't count on the previous turn. I was too distracted with some math. But I think he's up to somewhere in the ballpark of, with this card, 8, 9. There's somebody in chat that's going to do a great job of counting all this. If it's you, good for you.
Look at these 2 cards going to go to the bottom. That's going to leave Andrew with only 2 cards left in his hand here.
This will deal a good chunk of damage, but outside of that, I think that's just the turn. No go again given to this from the Starvo trigger, so you're just dealing with that 1 Oakenold. You do have a 2-card hand. You can maybe just choose to Arsenal from here or swing the hammer.
Yep, looks like it's going to be for Andrew. Just a nice warm 4. No Frostbite on hit here.
It's a flashy 4.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, Bravo's pretty flashy.
Overall, yeah. I think so. By the way, for everyone not at home, or for everyone at home not at the Pro Tour, there's another fantastic Bravo cosplayer out there. In fact, I think there's 2 Bravo cosplayers that are just killing it.
They have 1 epic fake beard.
Yes.
And I was like, I wonder what that feels like to wear a giant fake beard, because it's like probably actually heavy versus, what normal.
I don't know. That's a good question.
Anyway, this Mentor Whale is coming in for 4. Let's see how Janik wants to take this.
In fact, while we are waiting for the resolution of this 4 attack, we should also mention they did have, and perhaps still going, I think it started at 3, the cosplay competition, which the winner of which got the Taylor card, the Taylor promo.
I'd have to double check, but I saw some absolutely amazing cosplays out there. I saw a really nice Katsu one. Someone was Exude
Confidence.
That one was
blew me
amazing.
Away. That person did a fantastic job on the Exude.
Oh, there was an Icelander floating around.
Yep, I saw that one.
Complete with the face paint.
Here we have the, I believe this was Starvo triggered, but coming across with red evergreen. See if they indicate whether or not it was fused or not. If it's not fused, and strangely enough, the way that this hand, and I guess perhaps it's the composition of the deck, Maciej hasn't swung the weapon as many times as I would have expected. Because, when you hit these fuses, you attack with a big attack, and then you swing the weapon, right? But we haven't seen that a few times in a row. So
here's that play that I love to make. He's going to pitch a yellow pummel here, and that's just got to scare the bejesus out of you on the other side of the match here, because you got to know that how many pummels are there? I got to be worried about that kind of stuff. This is a 9-powered evergreen as well, so this does look like this is a Starvo evergreen.
Yeah, therefore it would have go again, and he could pitch a card and swing the hammer.
Let's see how Mr. Andrew wants to take care of this. He does have a resource floating here. He's got a prevention of 1 going, because there's this unmovable.
Yeah, there's the staunch response coming down.
Sorry.
Yep, coming down and blocking. I believe this full blocks. Staunch response blocks 7. No, maybe it leaks 1. Here we leak 1 damage. Staunch response, of course, blocking 7 plus the Crown of Seeds for 1, and then there is the hammer swing. It could just be that he hadn't, drawn in maybe like more yellow and red heavy hands, and so he didn't have the resources prior to this for blocking.
It looks like there's going to be a card from hand plus a ram's head that's going to fully block out this hammer, and that's going to leave him with just 1 card left in his hand. So I believe it's just going to be an arsenal and passer, and it's going to go right back to Janik on his turn.
Yep. I was over. I don't know if you've been over there too many times. I was over taking a look at this table. This, by the way, the table that they're playing on, a totally custom Flesh and Blood table. Really, really cool. It's actually magnetic in several spots so that they can pop, for example, the combat chain. That can pop off. They can replace it with new combat chain art. They have
different panels and stuff for different arts and stuff.
Really cool.
Hey, we're back to yet another Starvo activation. Janik operating on all cylinders here, getting this over and over and over again.
Just jams it again. We see this time and time again with Starvo mirrors. If one player can start the chain of just hitting fuses or hitting Starvo triggers, they can just keep it going for several turns in a row until another player can kind of take it back up. It's like playing a weird game of hot potato. It's like one player has it for a while, then they kind of pivot back over if the other player misses. And that can definitely change the course of a game overall, the matchup. Here we see a Crown of Seeds activation into a Crippling Crush. That changes things tremendously if you have the resources and the fuse.
Yeah, this gives you the opportunity if you want. This gives you the option to kind of turn the table in this game. You could maybe take some of this generic damage here.
Yep.
And it looks like that might be what happened. He might be just taking all 8 here. And if you're Janik, that's got to scare you just a little bit. He's been blocking, turtling up, using defensive reactions so much this game, then all of a sudden, wait, what? You want to just take this? I got to believe there's a big Starvo activation coming with a big attack. And yeah, it looks like Andrew's going to commit to that here. Just take a bunch of damage this turn because my life total's so high.
Oh, he's going to swing for a... Oh, no, he just throws down another one.
Yeah, another
Look
evergreen.
At this.
This one's going to be for 7, non-dominated.
Talk about a turn to take the first one. This is a turn where you're like, cool, I'm going to take this 9, then I'm going to take, 4 more and a Frostbite, but I have the resources to pitch over the Frostbite. Oh, no, it's another 7. Oh, well, that's going to put you at a huge life deficit if you end up taking this. So do you come off your line? And it looks like he may come off the line and try to prevent just a big drop in life.
Yeah, this is a really good read from Janik as well. If he sees, if you're going to take this damage, I'm just going to push the maximum amount this turn.
Yeah, that's a huge play.
Andrew down to 27. I'm sorry, 25. It looks like he's going to go ahead and full block this out from hand as well. Fully committing to that defensive role.
Yeah. Going to throw all those down, keep one card, save it for an arsenal, and play for a second cycle, perhaps, is his thought process.
I mean, we've seen him do this to great success earlier.
He's got one Oaken. Now, the thing about this is he knows the position of one Oakenold, right? Somewhere in that, like, double digits, 12, 15 count. But he doesn't know anything follow. The power that came in that previous game is because he could chase one Oakenold with another, right, and have them both fused. He doesn't have that same setup here. And so you're playing for a specific spot in the deck, but is it really going to behoove you that much? That's the question that he has to ask himself as this game goes on.
Yeah, we'll have to see how he wants to answer that, what he wants to do. We're back over to Janik here, just applying so much pressure every single turn, even though he is only ahead by just a little bit in life total, but it does look like we're going to have Andrew draw up, pass back over to Janik. Does he have yet another Starvo activation? We'll have to see if he's been lucky enough to get those 3 elements again.
He's got a 5-card hand, I think, from a Crown of Seeds on the end of Andrew's turn. And now we have a Staunch Response, Oakenold kind of a hand for Andrew. Ooh, a simple swing of the hammer. This is a big break, perhaps, for Andrew and an opportunity for him to maybe pivot into a little bit of the tempo if he can just take some of this.
Yeah, this is really surprising, right? Like, this is a hammer that's not even frosty here. You know, it's not even a cold hammer, so we're not going to get the Frostbite token as well. I wonder if there's maybe a blink behind this or something along those lines. It'd be very weird to float 3 or 4 cards here.
It would be, and it would. What would it essentially say? It would say that your hand composition is like all Earth cards, all generic
or
Earth
all
cards.
Defense reactions.
It could be a huge defense reaction hand.
Okay,
nope,
here
there's
we go.
the blink.
There's the blink.
Yep.
Okay. This otherwise this does not make
right.
sense.
It wouldn't make any sense. No, but he is going to follow it up. And look, it was perhaps because he doesn't have like a huge big attack that he wants to lead out with.
Yeah, this
could also be that he's trying to bait, a non-block and get extra damage over the top.
Yeah, you think, oh, this turn's really bad. I can just keep my entire hand, take a little bit of damage here. But this is a Frostfang coming in just for 3.
Yeah, this is definitely not the kind of turn that you would love to play out. But it does require an answer, which is kind of an interesting counterplay or argument to play Frostfang, because if you don't actually end up blocking it, then you're forced to discard or pay 2. So
yeah, Staunch Response was pitched there to activate the Ram's Head. Iron Fist came in. They soaked up all 3 of the damage. We're back over to Andrew, and yeah, I was about to say, he definitely wanted to covet this hand just a little bit because it does have a Starvo activation, and this is one of the best ones to do. This is the 11 power Oakenold. This is the kind of attack, and this is the kind of hand this turn that can really turn this entire game on its head.
Yes, and in fact, that was the hope when he Crown of Seedsed. Is Crown of Seedsing into that final activation so that he could draw into one of those, because I think he had Lightning and Earth. And so Crown of Seeds there, got rid of the Arsenal card and drew him into the last element that he needed.
Yeah, this is going to bring the Stalagmite out and get the first block from that. Now what this does is this creates a Frostbite token on Andrew's side of the board, so it might be able to stymie the second attack from whatever Andrew's going to do here. So yeah, Janik's going to lose a lot of life and cards this turn, but it's going to slow down the attack. Now, there's a turn timber as well from this arsenal. This is going to soak up almost all, if not all, of this damage.
Yeah, this covers everything, I believe, because the turn timber, even if it isn't fused, he blocked for 10 plus 2 off the Stalagmite, so that's 12. The 1 card from hand, the 1 from arsenal, a fantastic defensive play there, and one that he set up and waited for. You saw on the last turn, he chose not to Crown of Seeds to try and fix that weird turn. Maybe he sunk the defense reaction into the arsenal at the end of it, and that was part of the reason that he had such an off turn, but it served him well in that moment, because if he didn't have that, his hand would have been crushed.
And this is still a pretty good turn coming off the fact that you just got Oakenold fused and Starvoed.
Yes.
You've got 2 cards here. You're able to attack with a Cold Winter's Will, and you're going to have a card left over for Arsenal. I think this is like best case scenario coming out of those.
Yeah, your opponent throws everything they can at you. That big giant attack, one of the top 3 attacks in the deck, and you're able to walk away with no damage and still swing a weapon.
Yeah, this is impressive stuff. To be honest, this has been parry, counter parry the entire time. Nice little fight between these guys.
And you've also maintained a life lead. And again, you're fighting You are fighting to make your way possibly into that top 8, somehow cutting in there. Maybe you can weave in with at 10, 11, 12 with 3 losses. And you got to take down somebody who's basically just trying to punch their ticket to the top 8 themselves.
We got activation of Ramshead here with a card from hand that's going to be able to block out the 4. Looks like that's going to be it for the turn. He's going to arsenal up, draw up, pass back over to Mr. Andrew here. See, Andrew's got a bunch of cards in his hand. It looks like I think I might have seen an Oakenold in his hand here. I don't know if we could do everything with it, though.
Yeah, there's an Oakenold there, and I don't think it's fusible.
So it looks like it's going to be a little bit of slow play from Andrew here, either setting up a future turn or just giving yourself the best chance at Oakenold maybe next turn. You're going to leave that Oakenold in your hand, arsenal the other card, maybe try to find all the pieces that you need. You'll also be going into a turn that has 3 tunic counters as well. Also, there's a staunch response, too. It's another card that you can maybe play very well from your arsenal. Yeah, he's got a lot of options here.
Definitely. There are some real options with this. Now, choosing just to throw the hammer, there is no blink behind this, so we know that this is all that's happening in the turn for Andrew, and then just deciding what to arsenal, what to play from hand, that sort of stuff. When you make this play, which do you arsenal? Do you arsenal the Oakenold, or do you arsenal the defense reaction?
I got to think about it. Is staunch response the one that it's the one you pay extra, right?
You can pay extra. You can pay extra to buff it up.
I think I'd keep the Oakenold in my hand and put the defensive reaction in my arsenal.
Yeah.
Because if I don't have if he doesn't do something that I want to use my defensive reaction on, I can still trade maybe 1 card from my hand plus a Crown of Seeds activation, stop a hammer, and then I can still have the Oakenold. If I put the Oakenold in my arsenal, if I ever want to activate Crown, whatever, I have to get rid of that.
Yeah, you get rid of Oakenold. Yeah, and I think getting the Oakenold to the bottom of the deck here is a lot less good than in the previous matchup we watched where he stacked them next to each other, because the other one's like 20-something cards away. And so you can't string them together like you could previous.
Also, Andrew's probably got a better idea of what his element count is in his deck. Like if he's pitched a ton of ice cards through the span of this game or a ton of earth cards. So that could also weigh in on the decision. Like if I've known, hey, I've already gone through like 7 or 8 ice cards, so the odds of me drawing one are a lot lower than they normally would be, then I'm way more likely to be like, you know what, this Oakenold's value goes way down.
And you can stack it. If that's the case, you can actually stack it with the Channel Lake Frigid, because the Channel Lake is going to the bottom, and so you've stacked it next to, at the very least, 1 ice card that it could possibly fuse with later in the game.
Well, it looks like the staunch response is going to have a good target to block, because this is a Starvo activation.
Yep.
I'm interested to see which card went into the arsenal here and which one stayed in their hand.
Good question. It's
the
Oakenold stays in the hand, so the defense reaction is in
Well, he's got
arsenal.
both, so we're getting slow rolled here, actually. There could be...
Oh, does he have 2 staunch responses?
Yeah, he drew another copy of one of the cards.
Staunch response.
And I do think that's an ice and an earth card, right? But I don't know if he's going to be able to do all of it.
I can't quite. I think it may be an icy encounter. But this break ground yellow is coming with the Starvo trigger. Is coming for 8. Go again, dominate. But again, this is just pure damage. You may choose to just let something ride here. Pitching there. You could also Starvo activate here. Nope, just going to play the staunch response with the extra resource. So he did arsenal the staunch response. Keep the Oakenold in hand for a possible fuse target. And the hammer for 4 here is threatening a frostbite.
Adrian looks like he might want to block from his hands.
Now at this point, threatening a frostbite makes the overall fuse play and like jam down the Oakenold fused unattainable in the short term. So now you have an interesting decision. Do you arsenal it on your turn? Do you use it to pitch and maybe play that Evergreen for some damage? Do you just straight up throw a Winter's Wail on your turn?
Yeah, lots of options. So we've got to see how Andrew wants to play it here. He's been leaning towards the defensive plays. I would not be surprised to see another big block and block everything here. It does look like he's going to go ahead and put that, as Flake would say, pocket that Oakenold for later, puts it in that arsenal, gets it ready to go.
Tuck it in his jacket pocket.
And I've been doing that all day. I've got stuff. I'm like beaming with stuff to give out to
too.
people. I gave out all my Briars though.
Oh no, I needed to get one.
Oh, I'm sure we've got more.
Oh, cool.
Okay. I don't think that was the only ones made.
Hopefully not. That'd be weird if it were.
So it looks like Andrew's going to go ahead and just arsenal up and pass here. We're at the end of his turn here. We're at his arsenal phase, and Janik is trying to decide if he wants to use his Crown of Seeds very aggressively here.
Yep. Looking through your graveyard, fantastic thing to do as you come up to the second cycle of your deck to just double check your ratios. Again, this is one of those. Starvo is one of those heroes that can play 3 different elements and benefits off of having the ability to access all 3 elements at any given moment so that you can get the trigger. If you get the trigger, then you can move some big damage across the board. And knowing whether or not you have the chance at any given moment is huge. Like right now, for example, we see 2 of those cards at the very least. Not sure if there's an ice card in that hand. Looks like there isn't. Looks like it's maybe a staunch response, another staunch response.
Yeah, he's going to probably need that staunch response this turn. Here we go. We got another Starvo activation. Janik is something like 8 for 12 this game.
He is
like that.
killing it on the activations. And that could just speak to his...
Oh boy. You see Andrew sitting back in his chair.
Oh,
this is the biggest and best attack you can do. Now, it's only going to be for 9.
Yeah, it doesn't have the second fuse, so that speaks to the hand composition. We know one of those cards is that Pulse of Candlehold. So that means he does not have the ice outside of that Channel Lake that he pitched, which means that the hammer follow-up to this isn't going to be an icy hammer. So that does factor into how you go about blocking this.
Now, one prevention is set up here. Andrew did go ahead and activate Crown of Seeds. His Arsenal's on the bottom of his deck. He's got a 1 damage prevention floating here. Let's see how he wants to block this. He does have that staunch response. He's taking a good long look at it.
Staunch response, a great answer here, and you can pitch into it, and you can maintain a little bit just more life total, just overall more cards in your deck because you're just pitching into extra defense and you're not throwing it out there. So it behooves the fatigue strategy, of course.
Right. It's important to note that we talk about this all the time about like losing the cards in a goal. Since it wasn't fused, it was only Starvo activated. This does not actually have the ability of putting the 2 random cards from his hand on the bottom of his deck. So if some damage leaks here, that's okay. I think that's what Andrew's thinking about. He's like, I can actually, maybe just block it this way, maybe just staunch response. Let a little bit of damage leak, which looks like that's what he's going to end up doing. Oh, he's going to double pump here. So this is going to be for 11.
I think that's a blue staunch response, weirdly enough.
Okay. So this is going to be for a little. Yeah, this might be for the full amount, not over like I was thinking.
Yeah, if that's a blue staunch response, I think the blue normally blocks for 5, and then he's pitching extra into it for it to go to 8, and then the Crown of Seeds makes 9. And then we have a little bit of an issue as far as the sliding of the table. One of the strange things about playing on this table that I noticed while I was looking at it is the surface on top there is actually not neoprene. It is like hard. So sometimes you get, and maybe you'll see this, it'll catch a card in a little way because you can't dig your finger. You can't dig your finger in as much. So sometimes as you're moving a card to the bottom, it does catch a little bit.
So you might see some dexterity stuff here or there because of the way the table is constructed, for sure. Hell of a table, though. Absolutely amazing.
Dude,
I know you were talking about them
so
earlier.
cool. In fact, they.
I want one for my house.
They can. Oh, that's be like awesome. That'd be so good. They have the ability to swap out the art on the panels, so they can just put whatever card art they want. Shout out in chat. Let us know what art they should put on the side of the table here. Hey, look, it's a Crippling Crush.
That's fun.
It's a good card right there.
Yeah, it looks like 3 cards pitched to cast this Crippling Crush. Andrew lining up some blocks here. See how he wants to deal with this 11 power attack here. Remember, if it deals 4 more damage, he's going to have to discard 2 cards here.
Oh, and he's able to answer with a Pulse of Eisenloft, which does block for 6 in and of itself. Weirdly enough, it's also really cool that it buffs up the defense of anything else that's joined with it if it's Ice or Earth. And so that actually buffs up the block on Breakground, which is traditionally just a 2-block card, which is not good. But making that a 3-block ends up blocking, what was it, 9, just the 2 cards, and then 1 with the Crown of Seeds. So deftly dancing around the crush effect there.
So we had a cold 4 coming in for Andrew. Let's see how Janik wants to deal with this, or just goes ahead and takes this 4 and takes a Frostbite. He has to deal with the composition of his hand. Now he does have a Seeds activation, a Crown of Seeds activation at the ready. So that can actually work out pretty well. It's generally the way that you're going to stop this in this matchup is activate Chrono Seeds, put the 1 prevention up, block with one of my block 3s from my hand, and stop it that way. Now, it's a little bit harder in the in this tournament to do that, just because Autumn's Touch is a card that's been taken away from these Starvo players. That's another really good card that was just a block 3. There's this. It's amazing how important that card in particular was to this deck.
It gives you a 3-block ratio balancer, basically. It was a card that could, receive the Starvo activation. It was a card that could block 3. It was a card that you played the blue of. You could pitch for blue. It was a card that was an Earth card. It checked all the boxes. It is literally the Seeds of Agony of Starvo, right? It did all of the things. And it makes sense.
It was the glue that held it all together.
Yeah. And of course, the deck, as you can see, is still very playable, very potent, very dangerous without it. But you have to do a little bit more to do the same things.
A little bit damage leaks through, gives a frostbite, but it's going to go ahead and get a double pitch here to get this attack from Winter's Wail. And this is a cold 4, I believe, coming across.
Yeah, pitching and exposed to the elements as well. And look, there's the Tome of Harvest. We talked about that on his previous game when he lined up the double Oakenolds. He used Tome to find both of them, and he's actually closing in on the moment when his deck will hit the second cycle. That count is getting higher and higher by the minute.
And it's such an important card in that match.
Yeah, it was. It was. Oh, look
boy.
At this, a pummel over the top. Now, you don't get the pummel trigger. This is just pushing vanilla damage, and it's probably why it's getting played here, because you just want it out and cycled basically out of the hand. But I don't know, man. Pushing some extra 4 is sometimes just really nice, and it does push that life differential a little further apart.
Yeah, don't forget that Frostbite's going to come across as well. But I think Andrew's going to be content this turn to go ahead, put up his Tunic. Probably Arsenal card and pass. We'll have to see what exactly is left in his hand.
I don't know how many cards. Maybe he has a 3-card hand.
Oh, if he has a 3-card, then we might see an attack from
he may be able. Yeah, he may be able to. He's going to fuse definitely here. When you have it, you have it. He's going to pay the Tunic resource. He's going to pitch here plus the Tunic resource to pay 4 and come in with Evergreen. Evergreen, yellow. So this pushes 8, and Evergreen, Everlasting. Card never gets played from Arsenal. You never get the actual effect. Kind of a bummer when you think about it.
Looks like it's going to be pushing 7 now. This is a sink below. It's going to block 4 of it. It does look like there's going to be a card change.
Yeah, that was the card from hand as well, so there will be damage going over the top on this one. Sink below, though, helping tailor that hand and allow you to kind of like
doing some double duty in this matchup. Yeah, you just want defensive reactions in this mirror, and it gives you a little bit of card selection. And I wonder if that was the key to getting this Starvo activation started. Andrew's light total starting to get a little precarious. It's down to 17. Janik still at 23. Andrew, he has been putting his defensive deck together, but if any more Starvo activations keep happening in these next couple turns, that is going to be very difficult for Andrew to deal with, because all these attacks are going to be dominated.
Pushing the old red Evergreen for 7. I think it's this is a blue Evergreen, so this comes for 7. Dominate, go again. Staunch Response answers this perfectly. Covers all 7 up. Since this is the red Staunch, you don't have to extra pitch into this.
Very, very timely defense reaction for Andrew here.
Hey, Frosty 4 coming across for the old Frosty 4 here. Hammer Swing for 4.
Looks like we're going to activate a Crown of Seeds here, get that card out of the arsenal, draw a card into hand so that 1 is there. If there's a block 3, this is going to tidy this up real nicely this turn.
And he does have a Starvo activation here if he chooses to keep certain cards in hand. I believe it looks like he has a Starvo activation.
I think you're right. I think that's what he's trying to decide on. I'm not sure. I see Earth and I see Ice. I'm not sure if I see Lightning.
Oh, perhaps not. Maybe that's the sticking point here.
So it does look like a full block here. It's going to be a block from an Evergreen, I think, from hand, plus the Crater Fist. The Crater Fist is gone now. So we have our first dead equipment piece for this game. And that can be pretty important, too, especially for Andrew, who is getting really, really defensive. He seems to be the one who wants to, in the who is the beatdown of this matchup with the Janik has definitely taken on the aggressive role, and Andrew's taken on the role of, I want to turtle up.
Yes.
I want to play defensively, but every piece of equipment that's gone, that's huge for the other side of the table.
There's the swing of the hammer himself. And again, he's still looking for that moment where he draws into the Oaken Old so that he could possibly draw it next to some fuse fodder. Perhaps using that to pop into the game.
like a cold 4. It looks like Janik's just going to go ahead and take this and receive this Frostbite. That leads me to believe his hand's going to be pretty good on this turn.
See how he ends up taking it.
Tunic trigger. There is 3 counters on the Tunic over here, so the Frostbite maybe not going to have as big of impact.
Arsenal pass.
Oh, it's going to be
like
a big attack.
Oh,
yeah.
there it is. Crippling crush. Now, it does not look like it was Starvo triggered. It's just the standard 11. Casual 11. It's a casual 11.
We're turning it up to 11.
Yes, we are. This goes to 11. Well, just make it go to 10. But it goes to 11. Have you never seen?
I know the reference. I've never actually seen it. No.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
Yeah,
I know it's Spinal Tap.
This is Spinal Crush. No, just kidding. It's not. Actually, we should totally make a Spinal Tap deck. That'd be awesome.
Everything goes to 11.
Everything goes to 11. The speaker goes to 11. Everything. The tiniest Stonehenge. Kel is standing next to me, quoting this as Spinal Tap, and I can't help it. I love it too much.
All right, got a Crown of Seeds activation here. Activation of the Ram's Head as well, and now we got to see how many cards from the hand are going to be left over when this is all said and done. What blocks are going to be left over? Is it going to be enough to leave some cards left over in Andrew's hand so he can maybe do something on his turn and Arsenal up as well? If he blocks with these two, and they're 2 blocks, that would be 6, 7, 8. You can stop the crush effect. So it does look like the boots are going to get in there as well.
And having to block this way, perhaps to avoid the crush effect because suboptimal blocking cards in hand, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I saw some 2s in there. Now, this does leave him with a little bit of action on his own turn as well. He could possibly swing the hammer plus put a card in the arsenal because these life totals are still really, really close. You want to actually keep some pressure up on Janik. You don't want to just keep giving him free turn after free turn and stuff. So this does look like this was an ice card pitch to this Winter's Wail. This will be a cold 4 coming across Frostbite on hit.
I just want to point this out. This is not the way we saw Starvo play out, a Starvo mirror match play out in the previous pre-ban suspended meta. Look at the life totals on this game. They are clawing to stay at parity. Before this, you'd take a bunch of damage so that you could play your Awakening. Now we have this back and forth. Who's gonna make the first move? Who's gonna establish their tempo and that dominance over the next couple of turn cycles? It's honestly super grindy, very fascinating, and it plays a lot more like Guardian. I think it's a lot truer to the Guardian
of what you'd
staple.
think. Yeah,
right.
Two big guys throwing clubs at each other, pretty much.
And here's the fuse, Oakenold. Hello.
Speaking of big clubs getting thrown at each other, Oakenold is going to be fused here. This is for 9, but this is an actual fuse, not a Starvo activation here.
Yes.
So this does have Dominate. It does have +2. It doesn't have Go again, but it does have that text. If this hits a hero, put 2 random cards in their hands at the bottom of their deck in any order, and that is extremely dangerous. We've got a Crown activation from Andrew over here. Puts a card from his arsenal on the bottom of his deck. Is going to draw a card. Pulse added to his hand here. Trying to take a look. Is there a defensive reaction in his hand?
It doesn't look like he's got a pummel in hand instead, but he does have Heaven's Claws. He has a Pulse of Candlehold, which looks like that's going to be used to block here as well. But because this has Dominate, that's the only card that he can actually use. And
no.
Wow. Oh, my God. The pummel on top. That is
carnage.
Insane. I can't even tell if it's a blue or red. It looks like a red pummel.
It looks like the 4,
they demonstrated the 4. Yeah, that is absolutely game-changing.
Does this get all 3 cards?
It does, because the trigger happens, and you can order the triggers either way, because the card gains the text. If this hits, defending hero discards a card. So the order of discard first and then tuck the other 2 is one way to do it. You could also just have the other 2 go to the bottom first and then discard the last remaining one. So that gets discarded, I believe. Depends on how the turn player chooses. So those 2 are going to go to the bottom.
Yeah, very easy. It's like I'm just going to choose one card. That's going to be the one you discard.
Yes.
The other 2 are just going to go to the bottom.
And your turn is
over.
No resources floating. I think they changed the life total there incorrectly. It's not 3 life. I think it's 12. Yeah, 12. 12 is correct.
We'll say, well, one of the players is also using with paper, so I think we're going to get this sorted out very quickly here.
But an absolute game changer. And we were talking right before this. the back and forth, the life totals like so close, but that kind of a play is what pushes you over the top and steals all the momentum. There's no Crown of Seeds possibility. There's no Crown of Seeds trigger. You're stuck to whatever you're holding in your hands. It's a 4-card hand. If you have a bunch of 2 blocks, deal with it, because I have all the tempo. I have the offensive Crown of Seeds I could do. I have all the power.
Let's see if Janik's got any more power left over. He does have a card in his arsenal, so if he did want to get super aggressive, he could activate Crown of Seeds here, but not sure if that's going to be on the table. See if he's got a decent enough attack. You just want to push as much damage as you possibly can here. Andrew does have the 4-card hand, but no arsenal. He's only got 1 equipment left to block with besides that Ram set. He's got the tunic, but it's got 3 counters on it, something he might not want to give up, but he might have to sometime soon. He's down to 6.
Andrew looking like he was personally attacked by that pummel.
I mean, we've been singing the praises of Pummel a lot this weekend about how great it's been in some certain spots, and we're seeing it do really good work here in this match.
Pitching away to play from the Arsenal. Is that a break ground?
Yeah, it looks like it's just a break ground. If this is a red one, it's just it's a generic 7, but this is still a lot of damage.
Vanilla 7 is casual lethal.
Also, 7 here is a good number. Anything that's a little bit odd is great because there's no Crown of Seeds activation, so that means a card or damage is coming.
Well, and look at the hand. That is a whole bunch of 2 blocks. This is Starvo. You gotta do something to get those 2 blocks to actually push through.
It looks like that tunic counter is going to come off. Let Ram's Head block along with 2 cards from hand, and 2 damage is going to leak through. And Andrew down to 4. Now he's going to have 2 cards left over, so he can mount some kind of comeback here. Possibly a hammer attack and an arsenal to get himself back in this game just a little bit.
Looks like that's what he's playing for.
If I'm Janik and my hand is any good here, I'm just taking this on the chin.
Yeah, I think you're not even looking at a frostbite. At this point, you are incentivized. Heck, you could even just throw the stalagmite in front of this. If you wanted to preserve your life, you could throw stalagmite, you could Crown of Seeds, and then you can put the Crater Fist as a block, and you're comfortable with that.
Absolutely. And yeah, there's a bunch of options. Even if it's just Crown of Seeds to prevent 1, that would be kind of fine, because I would be a little remiss at giving up any of my equipment if I could here. They all are full, right? You still have a full Crater Fist. You still got the full legs, and I want to save those for the worst-case scenario, right? And the worst-case scenarios here is you find the turn where you don't push a lot of damage. Andrew's able to turn this game around, and he starts hitting that second cycle where he starts hitting you with those big attacks that he's been putting away, and you get attacked by a big dominated attack, and then you're like, oh, what do I do now? I can only block with 1 card from my hand, and I'm caught without a defensive reaction. So love Janik keeping his equipment at full power here.
Yeah, choosing in that moment to block with a card, which tells me, and it tells all of us, that he didn't have a fuse there, he didn't have a setup, but he does have a nice little red evergreen.
I spy a pummel in Andrew's hand now.
Yep.
There's pummels everywhere.
He just, unfortunately, I don't think he can take any damage to allow him to set up a pummel play. Because pummel is so expensive, being a 2 cost that you have to play after you've paid for a large attack, you may not have the tempo necessary to actually play this out. If you
may not be able to just keep enough cards in your hand to be able to pay for all of it.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And we do see, it looks like a Pulse of Volthaven's in there as well, and Break Ground, and whatever that green card is. But he's going to pitch, he's going to pitch the pummel away.
Activation of Crown of Seeds here. All right, the 1 prevention is up. That is a staunch response off the top.
That actually changes things tremendously.
That was a pretty timely draw.
So choosing here to pitch and then play the staunch response and having a pulse plus an earth card might be able to allow him to pay for stuff depending on how this all plays out. Either way, he does at any given moment can just choose to play that staunch response and just protect his life.
It does look like what he's going to do.
Yep.
Yep, staunch response is going to help clean this up, stop all the damage coming through. He's going to keep himself at 4 and some cards in his hand, just as importantly.
Yeah.
So he's going to his turn with some actual things to do, Andrew is. Looks like he's going to be able to do something like possibly swing the hammer here and set up maybe some next turn.
Yeah. At the very least, you arsenal here. There's a Shock Striker and a Pulse of Volthaven. So arsenaling a card like the Shock Striker, keeping a Pulse, or, arsenaling the Pulse that can't block. And then, pitching, depending if it's a blue Shock Striker, come in with a hammer, arsenal the Pulse, use it as fodder for your Crown of Seeds.
Janik took that very, very quickly, so I'm a little worried. Yep, there's a Starvo activation. Andrew is at 4. If there's no defensive reaction here, oh no, this might be too much.
It looks like he's triggering the Starvo activation for himself, showing a Pulse of Eisenloft and then a Lightning card.
I don't see a defensive reaction in Andrew's hand either. You see a little shake of the head.
Now there is a possibility. Oh, and that's why he was playing quick. He knew what he had in the arsenal. And it's
13
hey, it's Crippling
power.
Crush. Just comes down. Casual 12 plus 1.
It's a 13 power Crippling Crush.
At this point, it might as well be a 121 power.
Is the top card another Staunch Response?
That is the only out, I think. If he draws a Staunch Response there, because this is dominated. He's going to throw everything in the kitchen sink at it, the 1/3 block from hand, and that's going to do it. He closes it out off of the back of a Crippling Crush.
And Janik's got to be really happy here. He was telling me before the round, he's like, I always lose my my feature matches, my rounds on camera, so he kind of gets that monkey off of his back.
Yes.
So nice for him to come out with a win here in that Starvo mirror match.